Using the batch file to trigger your robot framework tests on Sauce Labs is really very easy to set up, and it's something anybody can do if you don't feel like you have the time or skills to create a Jenkins instance. Batch files are just text files that are capable of running one or more Windows commands. And what we would do is just add one or more of the PyBot calls we've been using to run our scripts this whole time. And that looks like PyBot plus your results path, plus your desired capabilities, plus the script name. And you can run them sequentially by specifying call PyBot, or you can run them in parallel by specifying start PyBot. And of course, you can mix and match those if you have one or two scripts that needs to run sequentially, followed by a few that need to run in parallel, followed by another sequential, and then two more parallel. You could use call and start respectively on multiple lines. You can also use the -t option to preserve log history so that you can run your scripts multiple times every hour, every day, or every week. And if you do happen to find a failure, you can go back and look at that specific log file. Using batch files gives you one-click test execution, so it's pretty convenient. And batch files can also be scheduled at any kind of different frequency you desire using the Windows Task Scheduler. For more information about running scripts with batch files and other run options, you can see my Robot Framework Level 1 course. But for now, let's dig in and take a look at how to run with batch files. You can see out here on my desktop, I have this batch file called multirunsauce.bat. When I right-click and edit it, you can see that it just does a CD, which means change directory, into a specific base directory of one of my scripts. Then what I'm doing is I'm using start to invoke several different PyBot commands. Each of them are passing the same remote URL. I'm using the -t option that I mentioned. I'm using -d to specify where the results are going to go, and notice that each one of them is in a unique subdirectory underneath the results directory. Then I'm passing in a different desired capabilities for each one of them. I've got Windows 7 with Chrome 39, Windows 8 with IE 11, Linux with Chrome 43, and Mac OS with Safari 8. And then of course at the very end, like I mentioned, I'm just passing in a directory and a reference to my script file. If I double click this batch file, they will all run at the same time. However, if I change this one to call, like I mentioned, it'll run that one first, and once that one is done, it'll fire off these three. Let's check it out. So now my first one is running. You can see if I bring up a saucelabs.com window, I can see the tests running in real time. I could even click on this link to watch it run in real time if I want to. So this one is just wrapping up, and once it finishes, you'll notice that 3 other command windows will pop up and run those in parallel. So there we go. Now we have our 3 other command windows. And if we look at the Sauce Labs, now we have 3 tests running in parallel on 4 concurrent VMs. And you can see that my API call is working in the background to update the test case names right when the test starts. And once the tests finish, I make a second API call to update those test results to match what I see here in the command window. So like I mentioned, using batch files is like a poor man's version of Jenkins, because you can script up as many script runs as you want to, sequentially or in parallel. You can preserve the results and go back and review them later. So you see that my results file is here, and as I expand any of these things, you see that I do have multiple logs with different date and timestamps as a result of using that -t option. So that's how you can use batch files to run multiple Robot Framework scripts on Sauce in parallel.